It was 5 in the morning when my phone buzzed. My daughter's name lit up on the screen, but when I answered, all I heard was a crash, then her scream, "Dad, don't let him take me," in silence. I ran out to the car barefoot. When I got there, the door was wide open, blood all over the floor, and my dash cam was still recording. If you've ever believed that justice always stands on the right side, subscribe to this channel and tell me where you're listening from, because what comes next might just change your mind. I don't remember how I drove out of that street, only the engine whining through the gray morning mist. The city was still asleep. Red traffic lights blinked across my windshield. I just heard my daughter scream on the phone, then nothing. Now her phone was dead. When I arrived, the gate stood wide open. The porch light was flickering like it was scared too. Long drag marks streaked across the living room floor, as if someone had been pulled. I called her name. No answer. Only the wall clock ticking, cold and steady. I ran outside to call 911, then froze when I saw the red light reflecting on my hood. My dash cam was still on the little recording light blinking. I don't remember switching it on. But I'd built auto record into this car years ago, back when I was an automotive security engineer. Habit saved me, and maybe it saved Sophie. I rewound the footage. The screen showed the front of the house minutes before I got there. In the dim corner of the frame, a big man hauled a girl out the door, Ryan Cole, a police officer, my ex-wife's husband, my daughter's stepfather, and the girl in her familiar gray hoodie was Sophie. She fought. She mouthed something. The sound was only sobs. Ryan shoved, then dragged her toward the white patrol car parked at the curb. My chest tightened. That image cut deeper than any knife. Ryan, the man everyone in this town respected. Model officer, prize winner for protecting the community. Newspaper photos with the headline, "Hero behind the badge." And now he was dragging my child like a criminal. I slammed into the car, started it. The tires screamed on wet pavement. On the way to Midtown Precinct, one thought filled my head: get her back. Get her out of his hands. When I walked into the station, a few officers recognized me. "Hey, Turner." Long time their voices were half friendly, half wary. I'd wired their patrol cars. I thought that would make them listen. I was wrong. I told them Ryan had taken my daughter. They glanced at each other. One man let out a thin laugh. "Ryan's on the morning shift. Maybe the kid was in trouble. He was just helping." I put the video on the counterphone facing them. "Look." He pulled her out of my house. No warrant, no cause. A young cop glanced at the screen and turned away. "Mr. Turner, footage can be doctored. You know Ryan is a good cop." It felt like banging my head against a wall. Eyes slid off me. Quiet spread like a poisonous fog. I sank onto a cold metal chair in the hallway. Images flashed in my mind. Sophie at 8 clutching her first science trophy, grinning in the living room. Laura, my ex, hugging her and saying Ryan will be good for the three of us. Now those words felt like a cruel joke. I went back outside, played the video again. In the last moment before Ryan shut the car door, Sophie looked straight at the camera. Her eyes were wide, wet. I read the unspoken plea on her lips. "Dad, don't trust him." I shook. For the first time in years I was afraid, not of Ryan, of the power he held, the badge, the system's faith in him. I called Laura. She answered sleepy and annoyed. "Michael, not this again. Ryan says Sophie ran away. Don't blame him." I gripped the wheel until my knuckles hurt. Everyone believed him. I had only a grainy dashcam clip and a father's instinct. I didn't know then. That clip was only the opening to something worse. The real truth sat behind the precinct's own internal cameras where Ryan was on duty. To get that footage, I'd have to go up against a wall of brass and badges. I left the station just as the morning light fully came up. The sky looked like dull, cold metal. Across the street, the red brick building where I helped install their surveillance gear stood silent. Its windows threw back my reflection, a lone father holding a video nobody wanted to watch. I sat in the car and watched the clip again. Ryan hauling Sophie, then disappearing behind the patrol car. It was all there. Then I noticed a small detail I'd missed before the blue strobe from the squad car at the end. He'd used an official vehicle. That meant everything after that was recorded by the patrol car's dashcam and stored inside the precinct's servers. I knew where the footage lived. The problem was I wasn't one of them anymore. They wouldn't let me near it. I drove the city looking for any thread I could pull. By noon, I stopped at the little cafe beside the precinct, the same place Ryan and I used to sit when he was a rookie. I watched through the glass as he came out in a tidy uniform badge bright on his chest. He laughed, shook hands with a group of young officers. No one knew that hours earlier he'd dragged my girl out into the night. He saw me. The smile stayed. The eyes went cold. He walked over, leaned in, voice low and casual, like a threat wrapped in sugar. "Michael, you're going too far. Sophie's fine. Keep stirring trouble and I'll make everyone believe you're the danger." I looked at him steady. "You hit her, Ryan. I have video. I won't stop." He cocked his head and smirked. "You have that grainy clip. Too bad." The city's storage had a failure this morning. 24 hours of data gone. Then he turned away. I stood on the sidewalk frozen while distant sirens beat against my racing heart. That night I went home and checked my cloud backup. The original file was gone. Someone had accessed my account using a recovery password only precinct techs would know. They weren't just burying the truth, they were erasing it. A text came in from an unknown number. "Stop if you want to see your daughter again." No name. I knew who sent it. I didn't sleep. I stared at the dim desk lamp and Sophie's words kept looping inside my head. "Dad, don't trust him." I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when the whole system looked like it was wrapped in mutual protection. The next morning I went back to the station. I knew one man, Evan Miles, a young tech officer I'd taught to wire dash cams. He met me in the lot, eyes darting. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "They're watching. Ryan runs internal security. He can access anything." "I just need one file," I said. "The dash cam from 48B last night." Evan hesitated. "If I help, I lose my job." I felt my voice crack. "If you don't help, a kid might lose her future." He went silent. Then he nodded. 3 hours later, I got a message. "There's something on the server. You have to come. I can't send it out." I drove to the storage room behind the precinct. Inside was cold blue light and rows of humming racks of metal hive. Evan waited with a shaking hand and a USB. I found the start of 48B's footage. The rest is encrypted. Someone manually deleted it. I plugged the stick into my laptop. The clip played Ryan in the front seat, Sophie in the back. Blue lights flickering. She screamed. The image jolted. Black. End. My heart stopped. Something was cut out. Something they were terrified of having seen. Before I could ask, the storage door slammed open. 2 officers flooded in with flashlights aimed at us. A voice boomed, "Mr. Turner, you are not authorized here." Evan's eyes were panicked. I whispered, "Keep the copy. Don't let them have it." They hauled me out and read my rights. I didn't fight. As the cuffs clicked, I heard the server fans whirring behind us, like the last breaths of a truth being strangled. I knew then I was about to lose everything: my name, my freedom, maybe even the chance to see Sophie again. But I had one thought that wouldn't leave my head. If someone inside that system still had a conscience, if they opened that cut footage, they'd see what I saw. And when they did, Ryan Cole's smile would stop being enough for anyone to believe him. They kept me in the interrogation room for nearly 8 hours. No warrant, no lawyer, just a harsh white light aimed at my face, and the air conditioner hissing like some unseen beast. Every time I asked about Sophie, they said the same thing. "She's safe. Don't interfere." I didn't believe them. Safe is the word they use when they want to bury the truth. Around 5 that afternoon, the door opened. Ryan walked in. He wasn't in uniform, just a black leather jacket badge on his belt, enough to remind me who held the power. He sat across from me, smiling eyes cold and sharp as a newly honed blade. "You know, Michael," he began, friendly as if we were old drinking buddies. "Word is, you were tampering with police databases. That's serious. But sign a statement saying your video is fake." and I can get you out. I gave a short, bitter laugh. I won't sign. I want to see my daughter. He tilted his head. You still don't get it. She's fine. Getting medical care. She'll give a statement that matches the file. Don't worry. He dropped the last line like a punch. You always trusted technology to tell the truth. People lie. And I have a whole department to back me up. The door clicked shut. Despair rose like an undertow. And then a small light if he said she was being cared for. She was alive. 3 hours later, Evan Miles slipped by pretending to bring coffee to the guard. He whispered through the crack in the door. I copied the cut segment. Hold on to it. I'll find a way to get you out. The next morning they released me, lack of evidence. Nobody met my eye. I knew Ryan had cleaned house, even people's consciences. I didn't go home. I drove straight to the city hospital. The receptionist asked who I was looking for. I said my daughter's name. She hesitated, then whispered, Room 304. But you can't go in. An officer's guarding it. I took the stairs. The door to 304 was ajar. Through the gap, I saw Ryan sitting by the bed folder in hand, smiling at a nurse. Sophie lay there, her arm-bandaged eyes staring at the ceiling. Fear flitted across her gaze. I backed into the hall. My heart hammered. He wasn't just violent, he controlled the story the victim would tell. When the nurse stepped out, I went in. Ryan jumped to his feet. You're not allowed here, he barked. I just want to talk to my daughter. She's sleeping. Sophie opened her eyes. They were distant, glassy, then brimmed with tears. Dad. Her voice was small, shaking. I didn't do anything. He said if I told he would, Ryan cut in hard enough. Michael, get out. I stepped back and looked at him. You hit her, and call yourself a good man. He smiled coldly and lowered his voice. You don't understand. She's stubborn. She needs to learn respect. And you should know if you make trouble, I'll make everyone believe you were the one who abused her when she was little. I wanted to rush him. Sophie begged me, shaking her head. Dad, don't. I left. Not from fear, from knowing a fight now would lose everything. In the car, my hands shook as I opened my phone. Evan's message flashed. I decoded the deleted part. Must watch in person. I can't send it. Brace yourself. We met at my old flat, the place Sophie and I used to live. The apartment smelled of stale coffee and dust. Evan opened his laptop. On the screen inside the patrol car, Ryan turns, screams at Sophie. She sobs and pleads. He slaps her hard. Then he reaches and cuts the camera. The screen goes black. In the dark, a voice. Say another word and I'll make your father disappear. Evan's face went white. You see now, he's a man in a uniform, but inside, a monster. I nodded, a chill spreading through me. There would be no justice in the courts anymore. I would have to expose him with the very thing he used to hide the department's cameras. I looked at the dark screen, my voice raw. How long can you keep it? Not long, Evan said. If they find out this exists, they'll erase us too. I managed a small, bleak smile. Fear sat heavy in my bones. Then we make it spread faster than they can delete. I still remember the look on Evan's face when he put his hand on the table, sighed, and said something that made my heart drop straight into the pit of my chest. This could end a man's career. I knew he wasn't talking about himself. He meant Ryan. We agreed not to be reckless. No taking the footage to the precinct, no emails. No one touches that file but the two of us. And one more person, Maya Ortiz, an investigative reporter I'd once read, the kind who digs where she shouldn't, the kind who doesn't scare easily. Evan had spoken to her a few times when he was still a rookie. We met in a small diner tucked inside an industrial park, yellow neon lights giving everything a ghostly glow. Maya opened her laptop, eyes scanning the frames like she was reading a confession. She asked a few questions, metadata timestamps, then leaned in to listen to the warped audio at the end. Sophie's pleading. Then a sharp impact. The sound froze the air. Maya looked up and said quietly, If what you're telling me is true, and we can verify the data, this can't be ignored. She laid out 2 steps, independent digital verification, then a full expose video lab report and narration. I was shaking, but I knew this was the only road left. Evan worked through the night with a coding expert he trusted. They stitched data fragments, patched holes, recovered the missing seconds. Near midnight, the image came back clearer this time. Ryan shouting at Sophie in the patrol car. His hand raised, her scream. Then the hit. He threw his jacket over the camera, but not fast enough. You could hear his voice low and venomous. Say another word, and your old man loses everything. Maya didn't wait. The next morning, her story hit the front page along with the clip and a full technical appendix verifying the metadata. The shock rippled through town, tearing the shine off a man who'd worn his badge like armor. Within hours, the footage flooded social media. Reactions, calls, anger. People recording their own videos demanding answers. It was chaos, but the kind that smells like truth. Victims' families called radio shows. Advocacy groups demanded an independent probe. Small vigils appeared outside the station. I watched the morning news, my face on the screen. Maya quoting the lab's statement. No sign of deep edits. Encoding time matches system logs. Relief hit me first, then bitterness, and a sting of gratitude that someone finally heard us. Ryan lashed out like a cornered animal. At his press conference, he called the footage a fabrication, threatened to sue for defamation. A few of his old friends backed him, claiming his record was under attack. They held their own press briefing, waving so-called evidence, a spliced 911 call, a witness saying Ryan was at another scene. Enough to muddy the water, maybe. But they hadn't counted on two things first. Hundreds of people had already seen the original clip before their counterstory launched. Second, Maya's verification and the digital lab's report were bulletproof. The internet did the rest, frame-by-frame breakdowns, timestamp comparisons, crowdsourced evidence turning into public proof. The pressure fell hard on Evan. The morning after the article dropped, he was suspended for breach of internal security. Classic move silenced the witness. I watched him being escorted out, eyes still steady with resolve. I wanted to shout, but shouting wouldn't change a thing. So I worked with Maya, giving her everything, left emails, login histories, the transcribed voicemail Sophie had sent me before her line went dead. The strange thing about truth, the more they tried to bury it, the more pieces surfaced. A neighbor turned over footage from a dumpster cam across the street, showing Ryan tossing something in the middle of the night. A repair tech confirmed blood traces on one of Ryan's field tools. Every small fragment stuck to the story like glue. Within days, it wasn't just about Sophie anymore. It was about public trust. Threats poured in, messages, emails, veiled warnings to stay quiet. But so did kindness. People showed up at my door, coffee, pastries, quiet thank yous. One middle-aged woman hugged me tight and whispered, "My daughter went through the same thing. Thank you for not letting it stay silent." That night I sat alone watching hundreds of reaction videos on my phone. I realized we'd touched something far bigger than ourselves, a current of justice powered by cameras, phones, and fragile human voices. But I also knew that current could be shut off. All it would take was one order from the wrong person, and Ryan with that badge on his hip was still out there. 3 days after the article exploded, the city woke up as if from a long dream. Every paper, every TV show mentioned the Dashcam footage and the name Ryan Cole. Public pressure grew by the hour. I didn't leave the house, not because I was afraid, but because I knew. When a man like him is cornered, he'll bite back. On the fourth morning, the doorbell rang. 2 plainclothes officers stepped in, asking me to come with them to assist in the investigation. I followed quietly, my thoughts tangled. But this time, something felt different. In the interrogation room, the people across from me weren't Ryan's colleagues. They were the independent task force from the city commission. They had suspended his entire unit. A female investigator opened a folder, pulling out a still image from the video Maya had published. "Mr. Turner," she said calmly, "we've recovered the last 17 seconds that were deleted from the patrol car data. And in those seconds, we found everything we need." I stared at the screen. Ryan appeared face red, yelling into the lens, yanking Sophie out of her seat. He swung his arm. His gun hit the dashboard. Then the picture went black, and his voice came through heavy with rage and breath. "No one's gonna believe you. I'm a cop. I can't even describe what I felt. Pain relief, all at once. The investigator gave a small nod. You did the right thing. This evidence will go to court. That afternoon, Ryan was arrested. The news spread faster than before. Those who once defended him went silent. I was called to the hospital to see Sophie. The room was white sunlight spilling through the blinds, soft across her thin but steady face. She wasn't afraid anymore. When I walked in, she gave me a weak smile. I heard he got arrested. Dad, did we win? I took her hand and whispered, no MIP. We didn't win against anyone. We just made the truth visible. A week later, the court found Ryan guilty of assault evidence tampering and abuse of power. When the verdict was read, I didn't feel triumphant, just empty. All my life I believed that a badge stood for justice. Now I understood it only means something when worn by someone who still listens. Laura, my ex-wife, came to see me after the trial. She didn't say much. She just hugged me and Sophie for a long time, tears soaking my shoulder. I didn't believe her. Or you. I'm sorry, I told her softly. What matters is that you believe now. The story didn't end there. With public support, Maya launched a campaign called the Turner Protocol, a new rule requiring every officer's body cam to be stored on an independent system, one that no insider could edit or erase. The city commission passed it within 3 months. Evan was reinstated and became the first trainer for the program. On the first day of the new policy, I was invited to speak at a press event. Sophie came with me, a small scar still on her wrist. When the moderator asked, "What would you say to those who are afraid?" I looked straight into the camera and said, "Record it. Even if it's just a small camera, a fragment of memory, a piece of proof. Because sometimes that's what saves you when everyone else turns away." Justice doesn't live in a badge. It lives in the things that don't know how to lie. The room went silent. The light hit my face, but this time it wasn't cold like the interrogation lamp. It was warm, like the first sunrise after a long storm. That evening, Sophie and I drove home together. She watched the trees slide past the window and whispered, "Dad, if that dash cam hadn't been on that night, I'd be gone, wouldn't I?" I kept my eyes on the road. I didn't turn it on. But maybe someone up there did. The wind rushed through the car, carrying the damp scent of rain. On the small screen by the wheel, the red light of the dash cam blinked, steady, faithful. I reached out and touched it like making a quiet promise. "Justice isn't something that exists on its own," I murmured. "It's something we have to switch on. Keep it shining even if it's just one small camera in the dark." And the car rolled on beneath the streetlights, raindrops gleaming on the glass, proof that sometimes even the smallest light can tear through the night. If you've made it this far, thank you truly for taking the time to listen to this story. Every subscribe, every like, every share, it all gives me the strength to keep telling real stories, the kind most people are too afraid to speak about. Hit like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so we don't lose each other in the next stories to come. Thank you, from the heart.